What if I told you this wasn't a movie, not a legend, not some work of fiction? In the 1970s, a young woman in Germany claimed she was possessed by not one, but 6 different demons. Her unimaginable suffering was recorded on tape, and her tragic death sent shockwaves around the world. This is the real story of Anneliese Michel Exorcism that inspired the terrifying film, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Anneliese Michel was born in 1952 in Bavaria, Germany. She grew up in a deeply religious Catholic family, where her life was defined by faith and long-standing tradition. By all accounts, she was a quiet, intelligent, and completely normal girl. Her childhood was peaceful and unremarkable, spent in a small German town. But that peace was about to be shattered in the most horrifying way imaginable. At the age of 16, everything changed forever. In 1968, Anneliese suffered her first seizure, a violent convulsion that came completely out of the blue. Her terrified family rushed her to medical professionals, who diagnosed her with temporal lobe epilepsy. Doctors prescribed medication, and everyone hoped for a swift and full recovery. But instead of getting better, her condition got terrifyingly worse. The prescribed drugs seemed to have little to no effect. The seizures continued, growing in both frequency and intensity. Something was happening to Anneliese that modern medicine simply couldn't explain or control. And soon, her symptoms began to morph into something far more disturbing. She started hearing voices, insidious whispers that tormented her day and night. She complained of smelling rotten flesh, a foul, overpowering stench that no one else could detect. Her own deep-seated faith turned against her in the cruelest way. She found she couldn't even look at religious objects, a crucifix, a rosary, without screaming in sheer agony. Holy water, once a symbol of purity and comfort, felt like acid on her skin and burned her throat. Simple visits to church, a cornerstone of her entire upbringing, became impossible ordeals filled with unimaginable terror and excruciating pain. It became terrifyingly clear to everyone that something was very, very wrong. Anneliese herself became convinced she was possessed. She insisted that a demonic force had taken root inside her, and that this was the source of her torment. But her doctors held firm to their diagnosis. It was a severe mental illness, a form of psychosis made worse by her epilepsy and intense religious guilt. Her family, caught in a desperate struggle between the world of science and the world of faith, started to believe it was something much darker, something ancient and malevolent that no doctor could ever cure. After years of failed medical treatments and escalating terror, her family saw only one path forward. They turned to the Catholic Church, pleading for help. After an extensive examination and careful consideration of her case, the Church made a momentous and extremely rare decision. In 1975, the Bishop of Wurzburg approved an official exorcism, the Great Rite of Exorcism. 2 priests, Father Arnold Renz and Pastor Ernst Alt, were assigned the harrowing task. What followed became one of the most documented and controversial exorcisms in modern history. Over the next 10 months, an unbelievable 67 exorcism sessions were performed, often lasting for hours on end. Many of these sessions were meticulously recorded on audio cassette tapes, creating a chilling, one-of-a-kind archive of Anneliese's ordeal. During these rituals, Anneliese's voice would change dramatically, shifting from her own into deep, guttural growls that were inhuman. She claimed that 6 different demons possessed her body: Lucifer, Cain, Judas Iscariot, the Roman Emperor Nero, a disgraced 16th century priest named Valentin Fleischmann, and even Adolf Hitler. Her body, racked by these violent spiritual battles, began to waste away. She refused to eat, believing that any food she touched was tainted by the demons. By the early summer of 1976, Anneliese's physical state was catastrophic. She weighed a skeletal 68 pounds. Her body was covered in bruises and sores from thousands of self-inflicted genuflections and other violent acts she performed during the exorcisms. On July 1st, after a final, exhausting exorcism where she whispered her last words to the priests, Anneliese Michel died in her sleep from severe malnutrition and dehydration. She was only 23 years old, but her death was not the end of the story. It was the beginning of a legal and media firestorm. Her parents and the 2 priests were charged with negligent homicide. The German court was faced with an unprecedented case, one that pitted religious belief against legal and medical responsibility. The most haunting piece of evidence presented was the audio from the exorcism tapes. The courtroom listened in stunned, horrified silence to the sounds that had been recorded in that small German house. The verdict came back: guilty. The priests and parents were given suspended sentences. But the debate has never ended. Was Anneliese Michel a tragic victim of severe mental illness, failed by both the medical and religious systems that were supposed to protect her? Or was she truly caught in the grip of a demonic possession, a spiritual war that ultimately claimed her young life? The recordings exist. The facts are known. Listen carefully to the echoes of her story and decide for yourself. This is EerieDoseYT. We will talk about another real-life horror story in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss any updates. Also, comment your thoughts about this video and like if you were captivated by our story today. Thank you for watching, and I hope we'll see you soon.